My start at quarterback for the week is Dak Prescott versus the Miami Dolphins. Some people would still would consider not starting Dak Prescott for some reason, and I would start Dak from here until the foreseeable future.
Especially against Miami.
Against Miami. Who's your quarterback?
Mine is actually somebody we talked about earlier, and it's Carson Wentz. I think I understand that the injuries are a thing, but at home, I could see a big bounce back week. Yeah. If Alshon Jeffrey doesn't play, I think things might change, but I think he will play.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like Carson Wentz is in due for a big week.
My sit of the week at quarterback is Jared Goff against Cleveland. He's in Cleveland on the road. I'm going to tell you to sit Goff every time he's on the road. Every time.
Yep.
And if he has a big game, I will take that. I will take the lump on that.
So far, it's been true, too. He had a good week, 20 points at home, and then on the road, he got like 12
on the road.
For me, it's Kyler Murray on the road. I want to root for Kyler Murray. I am rooting for Kyler Murray. And I think he's actually been doing okay to start the season. But I just don't love his matchup. He's at home, but it's against Carolina, who has been very good against
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
David Njoku suffered a wrist injury Monday night that could require surgery, according to sources. Njoku is getting additional medical options to find out if surgery is necessary and how many weeks he'll be out.
Oh.
Interesting. So I will take my sit of the week at tight end off this list. He probably will not play this week. Continue with what you were
every
saying.
time you hit that breaking news,
it scares you.
Not only does it scare me, but then after I get over the fact that it shocked me, I think, is Melvin Gordon signing?
Stop. What were you saying?
The life of a Melvin Gordon fantasy owner. I was just saying with Kyler Murray, he's up against Carolina this week. They held Jameis Winston to a poor week last week, and the week before, Jared Goff, I think, had like 10 to 12 points. Winston wasn't that bad last week, but he wasn't great either. So he's up against another tough matchup. He had 16 last week in Baltimore. I could see him kind of doing the same thing, which isn't worth the start.
Running back, for me, start of the week at running back is Marlon Mack versus Atlanta. Marlon Mack had a bad week last week. You're probably thinking, as a Marlon Mack owner, what do I do? Do I start him? Do I sit him? No, you start him against Atlanta. He's going to have a bounce back week. He'll be all right. My sit of the week at running back is Mark Ingram at Kansas City. Kansas City's rush defense and pass defense has been a lot better this year. They've held running backs to very low totals in terms of fantasy points. So for Mark Ingram, he's a guy that you don't want in your lineup this week. I would sit him. And if he ends up having a big game, I will take the lump on that.
For me, for the running backs, I'm actually going to... You might be very surprised who I'm going to say start here, but it is start him or sit him. So it's kind of a coin flip. I'm actually saying start Sony Michel this week. He hasn't had a great start to the season.
Sony.
The reason why I say this is because I think the Patriots are going to demolish the Jets. It feels like I think Sony's probably going to get another 20. He had 21 carries last week against the Dolphins. I think that's going to happen again this week. He's going to get 20-plus carries to me, and if he does that, he's in line for like a 15 to 20 point week, which is very solid. And then my sit this week is actually Derrick Henry. Thursday night football game against the Jaguars.
That's a hot take.
Another hot take. I know. He's been fantastic this year.
You love the hot takes.
And I've actually did a 180 before the season started and said I like Derrick Henry this year.
I still don't.
I think he's going to be kind of the workhorse.
He averages such trash, like, yards per carry, but
he had 5.5 last week against Colts.
Oh, good. Good for him.
But in week 1, he only had 4. So, but in week
only
3,
had 4.
Yeah,
I think he'll probably end at like 4.1, which is kind of it's okay. That's like meh.
Anyway, but this week it's in Jacksonville. I know last time he was playing Jacksonville, he destroyed them. But you could also use that as fuel for Jacksonville's point of view, as they're not going to let that happen again. Right. I think all the focus is going to be in Derrick Henry in this game, just stopping him. It's also a Thursday night football game where they're super crappy most of the time, low-scoring games. It'll be in Jacksonville, too, so I could see that being hard for him.
Yeah.
For me, I know it's tough, but Derrick Henry is actually the sit-em this week. I think he's going to disappoint some teams.
I am going to say my start of the week at wide receiver is Chris Godwin versus the New York Giants.
Okay.
I'm going to take Chris Godwin. I think it's a juicy matchup. The Giants are trash, and I think that he should have a really good week. My sit is John Ross against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense has been really good, and John Ross is going to be a guy that you're going to think, "Oh, here we go, saddle up the ponies, start him this week. I need a good week from him." Don't trust John Ross to have a good week this week. If you have a Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver, I would be starting Tyler Boyd. If you have John Ross, I don't start John Ross this week.
I have an it's semi-hot take. My sit of the week, I'm going to start with sit first, is Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, to me,
it's not a hot take.
Yeah, I know. I after I said that, I was like,
you told everyone that he was going to bust at the beginning of the year, and you're just going to put him as your bust wide receiver every single week.
Hey, this is the first week I've done it, I think, okay? Brandon Cooks, for me this week against Cleveland, I said it earlier that I don't think it's going to be a crazy high-scoring game. And I don't see Brandon Cooks being affected by that in a good way.
Right.
So I could see Brandon Cooks only getting like 4 catches this week for like 50 or 60 yards and end up being a bust. And my start is Amari Cooper, similar to what you were saying about Dak. Like they're playing Miami. They're going to just absolutely demolish them. I think Cooper's in line for at least 1 touchdown this week against the Dolphins.
My start of the week at tight end really quickly, Greg Olsen against Arizona. Arizona has been porous against tight ends. They've given up in the first 2 weeks of the season a lot of fantasy points to tight ends, so I would start Greg Olsen if you have the opportunity. Now, the quarterback situation is a little bit concerning if Kyle Allen does start, but I think he's going to be more of a dump-off guy and a safety blanket for a young quarterback.
Okay.
And then the sit of the week for me is TJ Hawkinson against Philly. He had a bad week last week. Don't ride the Hawk anymore. I told you all to ride the Hawk on Twitter. Don't ride the Hawk.
Oh, I want to, though. For me, my start of the week at tight end is actually, I was going to say George Kittle, but that's a little too obvious. Of like, start George Kittle. Like, yeah, no dib. For me, it's another kind of obvious one, but a little less obvious, is Evan Ingram, because I think he's going to have a monster week this week. Evan Ingram is coming off a week where he did not great. He had 7 fantasy points and half PPR. I wouldn't be worried about that. I know it's Daniel Jones' first start. Okay, I get it. But Evan Ingram is the only passing option, and it's against a Tampa defense that has struggled against tight ends this season. I think Evan Ingram's in line for a big week. And my sit is actually your guy, Darren Waller. I just think he's got a tough matchup this week against Minnesota.
I'm starting Waller no matter what.
You also don't have any other
in my
options.
league, no, I don't care to pick up another tight end.